Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer and this is a reading for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and this is for January 2018. So just so you know, I'm going to be using the Good Tarot by Colette Baron Reid for the reading. I'm using a 9-card spread, and then I already have the cards pulled for you, and then we have a card pulled from this for you as well, or through the Eyes of the Soul Oracle. And then at the end of the reading, we'll pull another oracle card to wrap things up. So let's get started. So at the bottom of your spread, at the bottom of the deck, is the Queen of Earth. So this talks about abundance, the powers of, manifestation, and being surrounded by plenty. At the center of your spread, which I start with the center of the spread because it's the heart of the matter, is the 5 of Earth, which is the 5 of Pentacles. I don't know if you can see this. So this card represents a feeling of lack. The lack may or may not be real. It could be a feeling of lack in, usually represents the material realm. It could also just be an illusion of lack. So that's at the heart of the matter. The first card you have is the 2 of Water, which is the 2 of Cups. And this card usually represents a soulmate connection, a heart-to-heart connection with somebody else, possibly a soulmate. Can also represent your inner being and feeling in a state of balance emotionally inside of yourself. So I just go through each card and then I pull together the reading for you. The next card you have is the 4 of Water, which is the 4 of Cups. And this is about dreaming, going within, introspection, perhaps perhaps a time of not being too active and really just giving yourself time to feel and to dream. The next card you have is 15 Major Arcana, Temptation, which is also known as the Devil card. This card, it talks about beware of excess, beware of deceit, manipulation, addictive behavior, things like that. Next card you have is the 10 of Earth. And this card is really all about material wealth and abundance. And this woman here is sort of, she's here with her. And this doesn't have to be this isn't a reading just for women, but these cards, sorry about that, but these are the cards that I have right now to use, and they depict women. But you can see that she is sort of like guarding and protecting her wealth. Like she's sort of like protecting it. And this card represents financial abundance, manifesting things in the material realm. It can also represent inheritances of wealth or knowledge, things like that. Anything physical in the physical world. That is the next card, which we already went over. It's the 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Earth. And then you have the Fool. And this is another Major Arcana. It's the first Major Arcana in the deck. And this represents really the soul. It represents that innocent quality of ourselves, and also can represent a new beginning, taking a risk, especially a risk aligned with something that you feel called or aligned with spiritually or energetically. The next card you have is the Wheel of Fortune. And this card does represent karma. And you know what? I'm just going to look in the book again at what this particular deck says for this card, because it's a little bit different. So it's called like Destiny Meets Synchronicity. So it's about coincidences, but it also still will represent like karma, consequences. The wheel is turning. Perhaps things are turning in your favor or not in your favor. It really all depends on the situation you're in. It could go either way. The next card you have is the Page of Water. And this card really talks about that childlike innocence and opening your heart. And then we have the Empress. And the Empress is all about fertility, about creating something, about, you know, knowing that you have the power to create. So let's look at these cards. On your top row, you have the Two of Cups with the Four of Cups and then the Devil. So what I see here is perhaps this doesn't necessarily have to represent the past, but this could definitely represent like how you have been feeling, or perhaps you were in some kind of a spiritual connection with somebody. And now you're sort of like wondering about that connection. Perhaps you are taking a little bit of a break from this connection and you're not really quite sure about it. Maybe you're sort of considering, you know, a new way of moving toward or away from it. And then with the Devil card here, it could be like obsessive thoughts. Maybe you are obsessing over some kind of dream that you feel like isn't coming into reality as soon as you would like it to. Or things aren't working out the way you had dreamed or hoped that they would. And it could be obsession. It could also be addictive behavior with money. This probably has to do with money because you do have mostly Pentacle cards, including the last card in the overall energy of your reading is the Queen of Pentacles. So perhaps you're thinking about how either, you know, somebody that you're connected with or yourself, how your relationship with money or material wealth could be causing some kind of problem or disruption. Either for your own balance, your own emotional balance, or perhaps some relationship that you are in. Next row here we have the Ten of Earth with the Five of Pentacles and the Fool. So maybe this to me looks like you're having some fears, especially with the Devil card here. Maybe you're having some fears about lack, or feeling like you're like the things that you've been working on aren't really producing what you had hoped it would produce. But what this is saying to you is to try and, like, you know, instead of like be so concerned with the pentacles and the wealth and like what is physically going on, is try to be a little more carefree, especially with the Page of Water in your reading. Try to be a little more carefree, a little more open-hearted and childlike, and not take things so seriously, and allow yourself to let go a little bit. Maybe this could be urging you to take some kind of risk or start something new in your life in order to you know, stop work, because this is a very worried, to me, this card just proves to me like this person here is just like guarding her wealth. And you could see by her body language here, like her hands in her lap, and she's sort of pensively waiting for something. And it's almost like, you know, you're like you could be, what you're fearing, you could be manifesting those fears of like something coming to take away what you feel so protective of. And then we have Fortune's Wheel, Page of Water, and the Empress. So this could be, you know, perhaps something is changing in your life. Maybe there are some big changes. I mean, you do have 3 major arcana in your, actually, no, I'm sorry, 4 major arcana in your reading. So that's big changes happening for you this January. Or the energies, you know, there's really no particular time stamp, but, you know, this is what came up for your reading for January. And so you do have something changing. Something is either changing or is about to change in a major way. And it either has to do with this childlike type of energy, this open-heartedness, this innocence, in order to create something better and something more beautiful and something more aligned with a different kind of abundance, that you don't have to feel so concerned with protecting all the time. Like an abundance that you know is long lasting. Especially with, you know, Fortune's Wheel does talk about like time and karma and stuff like that. So so now let's look at it this way. We have the 2 of Cups, the 10 of Earth, and the Wheel of Fortune. So whatever this is that's going on is definitely affecting this emotional stability or feeling of well-being, is being affected by this material wealth. And a big change is coming, and there's really not much that, you know, it's out of your control, so to say. It's a destiny, karmic kind of a thing. And that doesn't mean that, you know, you're suddenly just going to go broke, but there might be a big change in your finances. And it could be that you've brought something on, and maybe, you know, things didn't look like the way that you thought they would look, because you have the 4 of Cups and the 5 of Pentacles here. So, you know, things are not really looking the way you thought they would. And that's usually how it is. It never really looks the way we think it's going to look when we are trying to create something in our lives or manifest something in our lives. And you know, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything. There's not, whatever it is that you might lose, there's more for you to gain. Because if you look at it this way, this is in the diagonal of your reading. So you've got the 2 of Cups, the 5 of Pentacles, and the Empress. And this is basically like saying, you know, whatever this represents to you, whether it's, you know, within yourself, some kind of an emotional balance or connection to someone in your life, some situation is bringing up a feeling of lack or perhaps confusion, or not feeling like you're able to control the situation. But it's going to work out perhaps better than you had hoped for, especially with the Page of Water here, which is saying, you know, instead of like worrying so much about this lack, you know, try to be more free, more carefree, more open-hearted, and childlike. Not childish, but childlike. You know, be open to like a sense of wonder. So the next row, and I know I've probably been confusing you a little bit here, but we have the Four of Cups, the Five of Pentacles. So it's that's what this row is also saying. It's like, you know, taking a break, dreaming, envisioning, you know, maybe letting emotions come up for you. And this card has come up for a few different signs this month. But these like bubbles sort of represent like stuff coming up to the surface. And it's probably stirring within you, or perhaps you feel like something in your life is changing, because fives do represent changes. But also like stirring up feelings of lack for you. But understand that really everything we have here in this material realm it's not really what's lasting. Especially with, you know, materialism and the levels of greed that we see in the world. You know, the stuff you own ends up owning you. So it's better to prioritize that open-heartedness and that childlike way of being. That is what's the real long-lasting abundance in the real reality of spirit, of the universe, whatever you want to call it. So then the last row, we have the Devil again, obviously, the Fool, and the Empress. So whatever it is that's culminating here, you know, this card is definitely warning you to be on the lookout for, well, for addictive behavior, excess. Let me just look at what this book says about this card. She has different names for it. Attachment. Yep. And not being attached to outcomes. Not being too attached. Because that's really what that Devil represents. It's like being overly attached to not just an outcome, but to, well, I guess, you know, everything ends up being you're attached to an outcome because you want to hang on to something, or you want to keep what you have, or you want, you know, even though the universe is like trying to pry it from your grip because it's not good for you, you know, people will still cling to it. And with the Fool here, it could be a warning of like, don't be so easily trusting of that attachment type of energy. Don't trust that so much. You know, you really need to get in touch with your soul and the real truth and take a risk in the form of creating real abundance, true abundance, something that will last and be fertile for you for much longer than some clingy type of situation could ever be. So, I mean, for some of you out there, you could be in a relationship where you feel like either you or the other person is clingy, and you might be looking for a way out of it. And that sounds like Sagittarius, because Sagittarians, you know, they're the carefree roamers of the zodiac. So maybe you feel like there's something that's too clingy, and like you're dreaming up of ways to like free yourself from that situation. You want to be freed up. You're dreaming up ways of freeing yourself from that. Or maybe you're like contemplating like, you know, how am I gonna get out of this, you know, relationship or situation. You know, maybe you're married to somebody and you're like thinking about you know, the material things that you've built up over your lives together. And how, if you ended things, how would that affect you? But at the end of the day, you really have to do what is right for you so that you can get, you know, because the Empress doesn't necessarily have to just relate to a woman. I mean, we all have the male and female energies within us. And it's really about, you know, not letting yourself get too bogged down in the details of things. Because also, you know, the expression devil's in the details. Don't be so worried about the details of things, and try to just be more free and open in order to get to this place of, you know, lasting creation. Something that is more aligned with joy and that wonder, that childlike wonder. Because you can see in this card it is represented by a little girl. And she's like free and running on water, basically. It's like a mermaid. She's actually a mermaid. Huh. She's a mermaid. A little girl mermaid. So, you know, whether you're in a relationship that you want to get out of, or there's some kind of a situation that you feel is really dragging you down, you know, this is really, it's about really just getting out of your head about it, and just maybe go and do something that makes you feel more like freer. And, you know, even if it's like going for a walk, or, you know, maybe reading a book about something that might, you know, like a fictional book that might help you get out of whatever it is that you're so concerned with. Just seeing what else. I think too, if we look at this here, because you see that devil energy, like, that's what creates this feeling of the lack. And, you know, something's gonna step in and just, it's like, you know what, this can't keep going on anymore. This feeling of, like, you know, being so attached to things that you haven't even, you know, whatever it is, could be that you've, you know, that you did in fact perhaps lose something, or you feel like you're going to lose something. And it's saying, like, you know what, change needs to come. Change needs to happen. You know, and these waters here, they're not stagnant. They are moving. Let's see what this says here. You know, the Empress, also fertility. It's like giving birth to new ideas. But you've really got to just let go of this temptation, this addiction to whatever it is, or obsession, or these unhealthy attachments, whether it's with someone else, or perhaps your relationship to money. It could be an unhealthy relationship that you're in. And, you know, once you are able to let yourself kind of get into more of this space of, like, letting yourself just feel freer, you know, getting into touch with that inner child. That's a big thing. Getting in touch with that inner child. And that's, you know, that innocence, that sense of wonder. And then, you know, you can give birth to something new, some new idea in your life. Perhaps a new relationship in your life. Or perhaps something, you know, a new job, a new way of being. So now we're going to pull I already pulled the card for you, and this is the card that you got. The Starseed Children. New hope for the future. New energies are coming in. So let's read what this card has to say. Nurture the star child. See that? Inner child. Provide what is needed for the work. This bright being may be within your core family or within yourself. So this could even be that you have children with, you could possibly have children with somebody. But I digress. Children have been incarnating to assist us in the planetary transitions to come. These starseeds have the mindset to deal with Earth's problems with new and innovative solutions. They carry knowledge from the more positive civilizations existing in outer or inner space. These children and adults can psychically read other people like a book and possess intuitive abilities that safeguard them from the attempts to manipulate them. They can be known by a detached but determined sense of purpose, as well as highly evolved talents in the arts and sciences. So, perhaps this is a child that you have, or perhaps you yourself are like an indigo adult. And, you know, if we're not in touch with our own inner child, and you do have children, how could you be really listening to your child? How could you, you know, because the society itself, I mean, we generally tell children, you know, children should be seen and not heard, but the children do have a lot to offer the world, and this is their world that they're going to be inheriting. Why is it that, you know, the parents seem to be so attached to specific ways and attached to, like, this is how it is and this is how it has to stay? And they're not really letting that, you know, they're sort of like suffocating the latent child within themselves, as well as suffocating out that real true soul nature of the children that are here today, that have something, you know, to be birthed is it's about birthing something for the children. That's exactly what this is. It's about it's all about the children. It's about bringing in change, because it's their world, not ours. And it's only our world in as much as we leave it in a better condition than we found it for them. So, I hope that this reading makes sense for you. We're going to pull another card. We're going to choose from the Goddess Oracle for you. So, let's see. What other messages do we have for Sagittarius? Sagittarius for January 2018. What messages do we have for Sagittarius? January 2018. January 2018. What messages do we have for Sagittarius for January 2018? What can we offer to the rest of this reading? What messages do we have for Sagittarius for January 2018? What messages come through for January? Okay, so that makes sense. We pulled growth, and that's Easter. So perhaps something will be coming to fruition in the spring. But let's see what the book says here. growth. I am the movement toward becoming, expanding, enhancing, the impulse deep within all being, to develop, evolve, press onward, to fulfill all that is possible. Easter comes into your life with her springtime message of personal growth. It is time to open to things in your life that facilitate growth, development, evolution. Is there a class or workshop you've been wondering if you should take? Do it now. Is there something new that you want to include in your life? Let it in now. Have you just gone through a period of stagnation and lethargy where nothing seemed to be happening? Let it go. Now is the time of growth. Easter says that wholeness is nurtured when you embrace experiences, risks, and occasions that cause you to stretch. The stretching promotes your growth. So I just did a general reading for the week, and one of the cards we pulled was stretch and explore. And I do think that that's what these cards are saying to you, is like, stretch and explore. You know how people talk about being, like heart-centered reality, this and that, but how many people are really coming into that childlike wonder when they're so attached to outcomes and to, money and lack and not having enough, and we let this world just get us so stressed out that, and I think that's part of it, what it wants to do to us. Is stress us out to the point that we aren't in touch with this childlike wonder. But who really gets hurt because of that? Who really gets hurt when we do that to each other? When we're constantly like bearing down on each other, you get bill after bill in the mail, or your car breaks down, and then, every time you go to the grocery store, the prices are going up, and who suffers the most from this stress is the future. The children. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, or that all the children end up suffering because of what happens now. So, Sagittarius, that's your message for January 2018. I hope that these messages have somehow brought some insight, inspiration, and healing into your life, and that they help you in some way. If this reading resonated with you at all, or if you enjoyed listening to it, please give my video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and Happy New Year.